On today's show, Slovenia beats Australia and moves on in FIBA play. Luka Doncic, a dominant game despite being doubled on every single possession. Let's talk about that and more in today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Mavericks, NBA champions. It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks FIBA edition. My name is Nick Angstadt, host of the Locked On Mavericks podcast, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Letting it ride. Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of this show. Part of the Raccoon Squad, being an everydayer, literally an everydayer now as we're recording on an off day normally. Subscribe to our subtext if you want to get texts from us on Mavs rumors and things like that all throughout the offseason. And joining me in person, as always, my co-host, writer, contributor at Mavs.com, Studio 41, the Slovenian, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
So we were talking about the last time we did like in person like this for a pod. If you're watching on YouTube, it's basically just for Slovenia games.
Yeah. and in person for the Western Conference Finals. We did that.
That's true. And Media Day. If y'all didn't know, we talked to people on Media Day. Jalen Brunson last Media Day. You know, one of my favorite things about in person is the efficiency of the soundboard is basically shot because we're not wearing headphones and we can't hear the soundboard.
It's still playing. It's still there.
That's true. You're not gonna be able to use the LeBron drop, so I'm good.
Oh, I still got it. I still got it on here though. Yeah, today we're gonna break down Slovenia versus Australia. A huge game. 3 Mavericks on the court. 1 Mavericks GM in the arena with Nico Harrison. We'll talk about that game. Big game for Slovenia. We also just finished watching Canada versus Brazil. Dwight Powell fouled out and Canada lost. That's a big game for them. And so we'll talk all about that. We'll break it all down. This will be a big episode talking about FIBA and all kinds of stuff like that. Let's start here. Slovenia wins 91-80 against Australia in a game that was just, it felt like a dominant win for Slovenia. It felt like they took the lead early and they kept it pretty much the whole game. And it really started and ended with Luka getting doubled on almost every single play because Australia just didn't trust their defense with him.
We talk a lot about teams being able to win different ways when it comes to the NBA, and good teams being able to win different ways. And I think it's, you know, it was the easy thing to do going into this tournament, especially being down Chonchar.
Huge.
Is the fact that it's like, hey, well, Luka's just going to have to dominate every single game and put up these like ungodly numbers for them to have a shot. And today it just wasn't that. Today is the definition of a, you know, every wins a team win, but today was a team win with, you know, all the foul trouble that he went through. He only had 20 points in this game, right? I think he finished with 20, 19.
I thought he had 22, but then they looked and they said 19. They changed it sometime after the game. He went from 20 points to 19 somehow. So
yeah, so I mean, and that's the thing. You know, I think the biggest stretch of the game was that 7-minute mark in the second quarter. Luka picks up the third foul.
Huge.
And he comes out of the game, and you're like, all right, what's going to happen? They were up by 11, and it's like, can they hold the lead? Can they keep the lead? And yeah, I mean, Luka ends up coming back in the game with like 2 minutes to go in the half, which I wouldn't have brought him back in, but they did. And they went to the half up 9. It's like you held your ground without Luka.
Yeah, that was the 7-minute 43-second mark, and then he was all the way out till the second. So he was out for a big chunk of time. Slovenia was only outscored by 2 points in that spot, 10-12 in that run. That was huge. There was that third quarter run without Luka at the very end. He gets taken out at the end of the third quarter. They are down by 5 points at that point, 4-9. So I was watching these two without Luka stretches for Slovenia, thinking, can they even just like tread water? And they technically lost those minutes by 7. But then in the fourth quarter, to me, this is the run that really just sealed the game for them. Luka was out to start the fourth quarter, and Slovenia is positive 7-2. They're +5 in that run without Luka. Then Luka comes back, and it just gave Slovenia so much confidence in that spot because, and Honestly, I think they were given that confidence because guys got the ball early. Luka had to get the ball out of his hands. He had to, make the right pass. And Slovenia was playing 4-on-3 a lot of the time because Luka was doubled at half court sometimes. If Luka's doubled at half court, he's making the right the pass. He's making the right play. He's finding the guy that's either open or has a chance to. And you've got enough guys on the Slovenia team that can either, do something off the dribble, or Mike Tobey that we mentioned in the last episode has been really good at the short roll passes to shooters and guys on the perimeter. And if you have that recipe, then you're just going to be able to take advantage of that and take advantage of Australia playing 3-on-4 a lot of times if Luka's doubled at half court.
Some would say they were playing 8-on-5.
I don't know what to make of these refs, and especially the head ref, that main guy, because
dude was flexing hard. He was sweating hard, flexing hard, wanted to be known. Scott Foster would be proud.
No, I wouldn't be surprised if his name was Brian Foster, as if he was Scott Foster's son or something like that, because that dude was he was making all kinds of calls. And honestly, I think he made anti-Australia calls too. I think he made bad calls in both directions in this one. And so I don't know what to make of that. Luka, gets 2 fouls kind of early. Then he gets that technical foul. When was that? He got the technical foul in the second quarter.
And if you didn't see the tech, it was the classic Luka after the foul call on somebody else, and Luka just launches it at the goal, like a shot. He always does these trick shots or these long shots where he just throws it up, see if it goes in. If it goes in, people will clip it and it's highlight. Yeah. If not, it's,
Well, he doesn't even, I don't even think he cares about that. He just does it because it's instinct.
He's just having fun with it.
Ball, basket, I'm going to shoot. I'm going to throw it up.
And he didn't do it out of anger or anything. He was just I'm going to throw it up. And they called the tech.
Yeah, that was when he first checked out of the second quarter with 7 minutes 43. And in FIBA, your technical fouls count as a personal foul. So that counted as his third foul. You only get 5 fouls in FIBA play. And so that was a huge moment. And then, like we said, Slovenia treaded water throughout the rest of the second quarter. And that was a really, really big moment for them to keep it alive, to keep their hopes alive and all that. But yeah, these refs were just, it felt like a disaster. I felt like everybody on Twitter was talking about how bad they were on both sides of the coin.
The announcer. The Australian announcer.
If you listen to our past episodes, our past Slovenia episodes, we've been saying these announcers do not like Luka. Anytime they can put a little jab in there, his whining, his complaining, they've got to get that under control. Anytime they can sneak something in there, they do. And this game was the most they could do. And the color commentator guy is Australian, and so he was just
a boomer.
Anytime
that boomer was so upset after this game, he went to Facebook.
He was a boomer. Anytime he got a chance to say something negative about Luka, he did in this one, questioning. And then Patty Mills for Luka's fourth foul. Patty Mills does the Chris Paul, Trae Young. I'm going to stop at half court and back up into you. And while you're trying to fly down in transition, and Luka got his fourth foul early in the third quarter. I think 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter or the third quarter to do that one. And
what a bad call.
The Australian announcer was like, "Oh, what a genius play by Patty
Savvy
Mills!
Veteran move.
Savvy veteran. That's a foul in today's NBA on Patty Mills because they changed that rule last year.
How proud was Trae Young in his Atlanta Hawks vet? They're both Hawks now, so true. They can just be first time they see each other, dude, I love that foul.
You did my foul. You did my foul.
Teach me how to do that more.
It's really the Chris Paul one, but yeah, Trae Young gets to claim it now at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, the doubling on Luka. That to me was the big thing in this game is just Luka being able to make the right passes and being able to find guys, making impossible passes too. He only was credited for 6 assists in this game. And I think I tweeted that or somebody did. And I got a bunch of responses saying, how did he only get 6 assists? Because it felt like so many more because he's making the right pass. And I bet he got 4 or 5 hockey assists or secondary assists in this one.
Yeah, no, he did. And even some of his defense too. He was in foul trouble, but I think one of the stories of the game was, we could sit here and talk about some of his stats, but one of the most impressive stats is one that he didn't get was the 5th foul.
That's true.
And he didn't pick that up, and he had the monster block on Josh Green.
Yeah, he did.
That's going to be put on a shirt.
Yeah, he did.
For training camp or something.
Oh, I bet he felt really good about that one because that That was a huge block, and we'll
Big
talk
play
about
of the game,
We'll
yeah.
talk about Josh Green. We'll talk about Dante Exum a little bit, but yeah, Luka having that play, and we can talk about this in big games. Luka will show up on defense when they need him to, right? Like we can talk all about how there will be national media people and national people that'll say, "Oh, Luka's such a negative on defense." In big games, he'll come up and he got another steal. When was that in the fourth quarter to kind of ice this game? He had the big block on Josh Green. Yeah, in a 1 minute period, he got a big block on Josh Green and then another steal after that, and that really iced the game. And he'll play defense when it's a big game like this.
Yes. Is it time for break?
This is the one problem about being in person is I can't hide my little transitions and trying to there's no way I can sneak it
You
past.
pulled up the
Isaac.
FanDuel ad in front of my face.
Coming up, let's talk about what else we saw from Slovenia, who else stepped up in this game, and then we'll get into Australia and Dante Exum and all that. But before we do, let me tell you about FanDuel. Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5. You can buy a Subway sandwich, or you can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. Get the app. It's easy to use and everything like that. You can bet on some of these FIBA things as well. Go to FanDuel Sportsbook. Check out some of the FIBA basketball stuff and see. Let's see if they have another.
It just comes up so fast in your URL. Do we need to list off the numbers to call if you have an issue?
Yeah, please bet responsibly. They don't have any of the next Slovenia games up yet, but you can check it out and see what's available there. Slovenia, I guess, is plus 1,000 now to win the whole thing. They were plus 3,100 yesterday.
Fourth best odds, baby.
You should have got the bet in. I should have put down $5 on that. So anyway, go check out FanDuel.com/lockedon. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, being an everydayer. We appreciate each and every one of you hanging out with us on all these FIBA extras. We'll be doing post games on all of these. We'll probably do one on Sunday. The Slovenia versus Germany game is a really big game. All of a sudden now, Canada and Spain is a massive game for whoever wins will move on, and whoever loses gets knocked out of the tournament. And apparently, according to Tim Bontemps, will have to win another tournament to qualify for the Olympics. Imagine if that happens to Canada.
Yeah, that game on Sunday was already going to be kind of interesting for Germany and Slovenia because, the winner of this group will move on to play, the second place, winner of Canada's group, the Canada-Spain group. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of us have been assuming all along that Canada was going to win that group. So we're like, all right, this Germany-Slovenia game, whoever loses this is going to have to play Canada next. Well, now you just don't know. And that Canada-Spain game, I think, is after the Slovenia game, right?
Yes, yeah.
So Slovenia-Germany will play and not even know really who their next opponent could be. So that's going to be a little spicy.
That'll be good.
It will be fun.
Because Spain also lost to Latvia today. So that's a big one that we were watching.
But Brazil won, baby. Vamos!
Isaac's wife is Brazilian, so they very much love Brazil.
Yes.
How many times have you been there?
Handful of times, 3, I think, 2, but they were like long stretches when I was there. I love Brazil, man.
Yeah, if you're at a place for a month, does that count as? That doesn't count as the same amount of time. Like if someone's there for a week, right? Like
people are so nice in Brazil. I want to go back. We're going to try to start going once a year. That's our goal. That's
me and you.
Me and you, yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Live show.
I would love to go to Brazil. That's definitely on my list.
In Rio,
I don't want to go. So Luka Doncic has the big game, or at least the one that's going to stand out. But he was only 4 of 9 from the field, which is kind of wild. The doubling really took him away from his scoring game. If you watch this game, you'd be like, "Oh, Luka, he just gets doubled all the time, and he doesn't really have like a bag." And you're like, "Well, nope."
have a bag.
Who else stood out to you for Slovenia?
Mike Tobey, my guy. I love this guy. I have a basketball crush on him, and he had 18 points in this game, 12 rebounds, 5 assists. Early on, it was the Luka Tobey pick and roll, and they had K like trying to guard it, and it's like they just couldn't defend the pick and roll or anything with Luka and Tobey. So Yeah, just a fun game from him. He hit a 3 in this game. I think he missed all 3 in the last game that he took. But in the first game in the World Cup, he hit all 3 of his threes that he took. So he's probably shooting a decently high percentage right now. But I don't know. I just love that guy. I love their chemistry, and he was big for him down low.
What did I say about this Australia team? They got a good defense, but they're really weak in the middle. Nick Kay is, 6'10", 6'9"? Like, he's not the biggest center. Duop Reith either. They're not the biggest guys. And so the Mavericks, the Slovenians are going to have to take advantage of the pick and roll. And they did with Toby over and over and over again. And they even exasperated.
You got this one.
That's the word that I always mix up. They made it even more pronounced because they doubled. And so then the middle of the paint was so wide open all the time because you have to get out to the shooters. You have to guard, some of the shooters for Slovenia. And so Mike Toby just had a field day. I mean, 8 of 10 from the field. He made that 3, like he said. He took another, he was getting hot early, and he took another really long 2 early in this game. And the 5 assists, I mean, him on the short roll, being able to kick out to shooters is that's a big win for Slovenia to have somebody like that can do that. The difference between him and Diemets is
a lot.
Huge. Diemets fouled out in 10 minutes in this game. And even early in the game, he got 3 fouls in 2 minutes, and the coach was just going after him on the sidelines for 2 whole minutes. He was just railing on the guy. On the bench. So Mike Toby being really big in this game was massive. He played the most minutes of anybody on this team. He almost played 30 minutes in 40-minute games for FIBA. Other guys that stood out to me was Prepelic had 11 points off the bench, but it was Nikolic, I thought, who was big in this game.
Another game with 3 threes.
He hit 3 threes. He had a couple of assists as well. He was the one kind of making the offense go when Luka wasn't on the court. He was, running a couple pick and rolls. He was the one with the ball in his hands, and they needed a big game. And Iztok Franco, our friend on Twitter, was pointing out, this is the reason why guys like Nikolic play instead of some of the younger guys that we've been clamoring for, here, because he's been in big games. He's experienced, and he knows how to come up big in this game. He had a huge 3, I thought, in the fourth. Was it the fourth quarter?
It was in the fourth.
Yeah, he had a huge 3 in the fourth quarter too, when Luka was out of the game to extend the lead there, and that was a massive reason why Slovenia got a lot of confidence early in that fourth quarter and just extended it to the end of the game.
Let's talk about some Australia for a little bit. Josh guarding Luka.
At the beginning of the game, the Australian announcer that was very pro-Australia the whole time said, they're going to put Josh Giddey on Luka Doncic. And they did not.
Josh.
He was not on him at all the whole game. So he got fake intel, which I thought was really funny. But yeah, Josh Green guarded Luka, picked him up full court. He picked him up full court, and so Slovenia started having other people bring up the ball, which is what they do in the NBA too.
Yeah, and then they were bringing the double. So it's they were really trying to take Luka out of this, and, it didn't work. But, it's hard to say. It's hey, he was in foul trouble. He was, but it's 2 of those fouls were kind of really dumb.
They were.
With the tech and the Patty foul there. There was that moment there with Dante Exum. Dante Exum had this kind of sequence in the fourth quarter that I think it was the fourth. That was awesome. He had that block down there. I think it was on Hervot.
Yeah, it was the end of the third quarter.
And then he came back down the floor. They hit him cutting in the paint with the dunk. It's that's the type of Exum stuff that you really want to see.
Nico's in the stands yes.
Yeah, Nico Harrison was in the stands. Nico probably talked to Luka after the game because Exum tried to flop on Luka.
Oh, for sure.
Luka did not like it.
Yep.
And they're and I was joking. We were doing a sidecast with Mavs.com, and I was like, does Luka know that Exum is his teammate?
He probably does.
He might not.
He probably doesn't care.
Nico's like, he's a Mav. He's a Mav, Luka. He's with us. So I thought that was a funny moment.
So Josh Green in this one, 8 points. He had, 1 assist. He played a decent amount. He played almost 24 minutes. He played more than Matisse Thybulle. He started again in this one. He had 6 of 7 from the free throw line. He went to the free throw line a couple times, which was big. But they just don't ask him to do a lot offensively. And I felt like them not letting him do at least a little bit off the dribble here and there really limited them. Because Australia, they went 8 of 24 from 3, and they just didn't have enough shooting. Because Josh Giddey, for as good as he was in this game, finished with 25 points. He's so good. Had the big run at the end of the third quarter where he scored like 9 straight points for Australia, and they cut the lead. And then at the beginning of the fourth quarter, they cut the lead to 2, and it was just a big run by Josh Giddey. He's not a shooter. Like he does not extend the floor for them. They don't guard him out to the 3-point line, and so you have that, and then you put Matisse Thybulle in there. Xavier Cooks had been massive for Australia. They've been talking about him a ton. He's not a shooter either, and so you put him in and Giddey, and then Matisse Thybulle, and then Nick Kay is not that much of a shooter. Duop Reith can shoot, but not really. So you just have too many guys that are non-shooters for Australia to make an offense really work. And I thought them not letting Josh Green do at least a little bit off the dribble, not being the point guard and the main guy running pick and rolls, but just doing something really limited them. He was kind of he's been a sit in the corner and catch and shoot threes, and then every once in a while attack a closeout guy. But they needed him just to do a little bit more in this one because nobody else was really stepping up besides Josh Giddey and Patty Mills. And
this Australia team has a lot of athletes and some younger guys, and at halftime they had 2 fast break points. Also at halftime, I think you even tweeted this out, 0 points off turnover.
Yeah, Slovenia had 11 points off turnover, and Australia had 0, which is completely opposite for how these teams have played.
And I think Australia finished, I could be wrong, with like 12 or 14 points off turnover in that second half, but
they had 14.
Yeah, 14 on that. Finished with 11 fast break points. So they just got them out of their funk. Slovenia did. They came out hitting shots early. They hit threes in that first half and kind of just got Australia kind of out of their groove. And, man, that's a heck of a win for Slovenia.
It was huge. Exum, let's talk about him. I think he had his worst offensive game that I've seen him play from in these FIBA games. He had some good defensive moments. We mentioned that moment at the end of the third quarter, that huge block, which was just like an incredible athletic play for him. It wasn't even just a standing block.
And it wasn't from that angle, if a player gets to that block, it's just going out of bounds. Yeah. He got to it and cupped his hand around to block it to go the other direction.
Blocked it in bounds?
Blocked it in bounds, which is a huge thing.
That is such an inside joke from
a long
6 years ago from Salah Mejri days.
Yeah.
But Dante Exum, 4 of 13. I thought his drives were all wild in this game. He didn't have a lot of control over his drives. Felt like he was playing sped up in this one. Finished with 2 rebounds, 2 assists. Did he have any I don't think he had any steals, or he had that one block. And so not having Exum have a really good game really hurt them too, because he's been their third ball handler. He's been another guy that can create some stuff. And them just not having that, I thought that really hurt Australia. And so now Australia, they're out of it, right? They've lost too many games at this point.
They'll still play Georgia, but it doesn't mean anything. But yeah, this is the last kind of meaningful ball that we'll see. Exum and Josh will probably play in that game because they're younger. But next time we get to see them play meaningful basketball is in Abu Dhabi with the Mavs, and I think it's been a lot of fun for us to see. Yeah. I haven't been really locked into Exum games overseas the past 2 years, so I didn't get league pass.
Really showing your colors here.
Yeah, I didn't get league pass for that league, but to see him on the floor again, it was like a reminder of this World Cup. To just notice how big he is. Yeah. It's we've talked a lot about wing depth, and I think that's one of my takeaways for World Cup is just a reminder of how big Exum is, and that he's not even super skinny either. He's pretty thick, and that we'll probably see him guard some other thick boy. That we'll see him guard some other wings and stuff in the league.
And now the Slovenia-Germany game is really, really big.
Yes.
That's it.
It is on Sunday. Early Sunday morning. 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, maybe?
I think it's earlier than that. I think it's
3 a.m.?
I think it's let's see, Sunday. I've got it at 6 a.m.
All right.
On Sunday.
6 a.m. Slovenia, Germany.
Australia plays Georgia at 2:15 a.m. Central Time.
Yeah, that game means nothing.
So that one, I'm not staying up for that one.
Yeah.
Sorry, Josh Green. But yeah, that game will be Sunday. We'll cover that one. We'll have a post-game episode here. Canada, you got a couple things on Canada. Dwight Powell fouls out in that game. They now have this massive game on Sunday as well. So we'll cover that one with Dwight Powell. But Brazil just really surprised them, and it was a defensive game, really low-scoring game for Canada.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a fun game to watch in the fourth quarter there.
If you wanted Brazil to win, then it was very fun.
It was fun. Iago was just taking Dylan Brooks off the dribble, had 4 clutch points there. But yeah, that was a fun one. It just makes that group so wide open now since Spain lost to Latvia. So now Sunday is just going to get very wild because you have the winner of Canada Spain that will. Then you have Brazil, Latvia will play. So then, those two winners of those two games will move on to that next round.
Yeah. So that whole group, Canada, Spain, Brazil, Latvia, they're all 3-1 now, which is why. Now Canada has the biggest plus minus, point differential of that whole group. So that'll help them there.
Yeah.
Biggest by like almost 40.
Yeah. But it's crazy of like, what if Spain, Spain barely beats Canada, but Brazil blows out, Latvia. Spain could come in second, and Brazil, so it could get wild. I expect Canada to win that game, but you never know.
Well, we didn't know today. I thought that they would beat Brazil, and here we are. They needed Dwight Powell. That's my analysis.
Well, they had him. He just got hit in the face too much.
His last foul was him getting hit in the face too, which I thought was really funny. There you go. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us on this FIBA edition of Locked On Mavs and Slovenia, covering Australia and all that. We'll be back with more this weekend. Guys, thanks for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out!
Boom!